I inherited 11 lake cabins, tucked along a quiet stretch of water most people would never even notice. No crowds, no noise, just still water, old wood, and the kind of silence you can't buy anymore. It wasn't some massive business opportunity. It wasn't a resort. It was simple, and that's exactly why I wanted to keep it that way. My grandfather left them to me with almost no explanation, just a sentence I didn't fully understand at the time. Everything important is in the details. At first, I thought he meant maintenance, or maybe the condition of the cabins. I was wrong, because a few weeks after I took ownership, I started going through paperwork. Old maps, deeds, agreements, the kind of documents most people skim through once, then forget. But I didn't skim, and that's when things started getting interesting. Right across the lake from those cabins was a high-end HOA community. Perfect houses, perfect landscaping, perfect control. You could tell immediately this was a place where rules mattered more than people. At first, we stayed out of each other's way. They had their side. I had mine. No conflict, no problems. But then I noticed something. There was only one real access point to the cabins, a narrow gravel road. It curved around the edge of their neighborhood, then continued straight toward my property. It didn't look special, just a road. But when I checked the deed again, I saw something that changed everything. That road wasn't shared. It wasn't public. It wasn't part of their HOA. It belonged to me, fully, which meant every time someone drove down that road, every time a delivery truck passed through, every time a service vehicle showed up, they were crossing my property. Now here's the strange part. They didn't act like it. They treated the entire area like it was an extension of their community, like the cabins were just there, part of their view, part of their environment. That illusion didn't last long, because one morning I got a letter from the HOA, formal, structured, polished. At first glance, it looked professional, but once you read it, you could see what it really was. A demand. They claimed the cabins didn't meet community standards. Said they affected property value. Said I needed to make changes to align with their expectations. I read it carefully. Then I read it again, because something about it didn't sit right. I wasn't part of a HOA. I never signed anything, and they definitely didn't own my land. So where was this authority coming from? Then I saw it. The tone, not a request, not a conversation, an assumption. They assumed control. That's when I realized something important. They didn't know. They didn't know who owned the road. They didn't know what those documents actually said. And more importantly, they didn't know how much leverage that gave me. A few days later, they showed up in person. 3 of them. Clean clothes. Confident posture. That calm, controlled tone people use when they think they're in charge. They started explaining things. Community standards. Future planning. Consistency. All the usual words. Then they made it clear. They wanted influence over the cabins, not just suggestions. Control. That's when I stopped listening to the words and started paying attention to the assumption behind them, because they were speaking like the outcome was already decided, like I just needed to comply. So I let them finish. No interruptions, no reactions. And then I did something simple. I brought out the deed, not aggressively, not dramatically, just placed it in front of them and walked them through it, line by line, boundary by boundary, until we reached the part they didn't expect. The road, the one they used every single day, the one they depended on, the one they thought was just there. It wasn't. It had an owner, and that owner was standing right in front of them. That's when everything shifted. Not loudly, not immediately, but you could see it. Their tone softened, their confidence adjusted, because now the situation wasn't what they thought it was. They didn't push as hard after that, but they didn't stop either, because people don't give up control easily, even when they realize they never had it. So I waited. I didn't escalate, didn't argue, didn't send letters back, because I didn't need to. The leverage was already in place. I just had to use it correctly. A week later, I made a small move, a very small move. I installed a simple gate at the entrance of the road. Nothing extreme, Nothing aggressive, just a clear, physical reminder. Then I added a sign. Private road, authorized access only. That's it. No threats, no warnings, just clarity. At first, people were confused. Cars slowed down. Drivers looked around, trying to understand what changed, because the road looked the same. But now it meant something different. And I stood there, calmly, not blocking everyone, not causing a scene, just present, observing. Residents started asking questions. What's going on? Why is this here? What does this mean? And I gave the same answer every time. This is private property. Access is controlled. Simple. Then the impact started showing. Deliveries slowed down. Service vehicles hesitated. Small inconveniences started stacking up. And inside that HOA community, the tone changed. Conversations shifted. Concern replaced confidence. Then the board came back, this time together. No casual tone. No polite suggestions. They were direct. They asked why the gate was there, why access was being restricted, like they didn't already understand. So I explained again, calmly, clearly, the road is private. Access requires permission. Nothing more, nothing less. They didn't like that. But this time, they couldn't argue the same way, because now they knew the truth. And that changes everything. Within days, the situation escalated. Quietly, traffic slowed. People hesitated. Nothing felt automatic anymore. And that's when the pressure really started. Inside their community, emergency meetings, discussions, attempt to find solutions. Because suddenly, their daily life depended on something they didn't control. Meanwhile, I did nothing more. No threats, no demands, just consistency. I allowed limited access. Carefully, deliberately, enough to keep things functional, but not comfortable, because this wasn't about punishment. It was about reality. Eventually, they came back again, but this time, different tone, less confidence, more caution. They wanted a deal, permanent access, legal agreements, something stable, something predictable. And I listened, because now they finally understood what they missed from the beginning. Ownership matters. Details matter. Assumptions don't. That road, that one simple road, controlled everything. And the truth is, it always did. They just never realized it. Until it was too late. In the end, this wasn't about cabins. It wasn't even about the HOA. It was about leverage, understanding what you actually own, and knowing when to use it. Because most people don't lose control in one big moment. They lose it slowly, by ignoring details, by assuming too much, by believing confidence replaces reality. It doesn't. Real power isn't loud. It doesn't need to be. It's quiet, it's patient, and it's built on facts. So if there's one thing to take from this, it's simple. Read everything. Understand everything. Because sometimes the smallest detail, like a single road, can change everything. If you made it this far, hit like, subscribe, and tell me, where are you watching from?